avoids teaching this about Enoch. A sealed text, a prophecy of falling stars, and earth-shattering judgment. What if the Book of Enoch reveals the hidden context for the end times, forcing us to confront the deep parallels between ancient sin and chaos? Could this be the key to understanding our own precipice? My name is Pastor Naja. Welcome to a journey into the most provocative ancient text outside the Bible. This isn't about sensationalism, it's a clarity. What we uncover may permanently reshape how you view Scripture. We must begin with a crucial distinction. Enoch is not Scripture for most. It's canonical only by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. It remains for Protestants, Catholics, and most Jewish traditions a profound apocryphal window, a collection of writings, chiefly 1 Enoch, preserved in Ge'ez and found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. It echoes the fervent visionary world of Second Temple Judaism, Q516 BCE, 70 CE, a time of apocalyptic expectation. We explore it not to add to the Bible, but to let its historical context illuminate the biblical narrative. So why has it been sidelined? The answer lies not in a single decree, but in a gradual historical shift. After the temple's destruction in 70 CE, Rabbinic Judaism increasingly emphasized Torah and practical law over mystical apocalypticism, seeking stability. Scholars like James Van der Kam note this was a slow move toward consolidation, not a sudden bang. Theologically, Enoch operates like a powerful Jewish midrash, an expansion on cryptic biblical passages like Genesis 6:1-4. Its vivid imagery of the Watchers, angels who descend, corrupt humanity, and father violent giants, when Enoch 6:1-2 serves as a cosmic parable of rebellion. It diagnoses a perennial human condition, the reach for forbidden knowledge and power that leads to chaos. This mirrors biblical themes, 2 Peter 2:4, Jude 6, without claiming equal authority. It's a prophecy of weeks. Whereas Enoch 91-93 divides history into epochs, symbolizing God's unfolding judgment and renewal, a pattern resonating with Daniel and Revelation. Its cosmic cataclysms, 1 Enoch 80:102-104, envision stars falling and a new creation, echoing Isaiah and Joel. These are not literal moral mirrors. They reveal a world undone by idolatry and injustice, awaiting God's righteous restoration. Even the New Testament engages this world. Jude 14-15 quote forced Enoch 1:9 directly, showing its conceptual familiarity to early writers. Jesus' title, Son of Man, finds rich parallels in Enoch's visions, 1 Enoch 46-48, deepening a known Jewish motif. So what does this mean for us? Enoch is not a puzzle of dates. It is a diagnosis. In an age where technology grants godlike power and ethical lines blur, its ancient warning rings clear. Corruption begins when creatures what belongs solely to the Creator. The call is to righteousness, not panic, to humility, not presumption. If even angels fell from grace, what makes us think we are immune? Enoch does not tell us when the end comes. It tells us who we become when we forget our place. The true revelation is not in predicting chaos, but in pursuing holiness within it. Let this be our preparation. The heart of the matter, Enoch's unsettling mirror. Let's sit with that thought for a moment. If the core of Enoch's message isn't a secret timeline, but a stark diagnosis, what precisely is it diagnosing? And why would that make any institution, ancient or modern, cautious? The text points unflinchingly to a cosmic rebellion that begins with knowledge. The Watchers don't just lust, they impart forbidden arts, metallurgy for weapons, cosmetics for deception, sorcery for domination, per 1 Enoch 8:1-2. This isn't merely a fall, it's a leak. Heavenly secrets spilled onto earth accelerate human corruption and violence. The resulting giants are the embodied consequence, uncontrolled, unnatural power that devours the world. From a pastoral and doctrinal standpoint, this narrative is intensely volatile. It suggests that evil has a pre-human architectural origin. It complicates the simpler, more manageable narrative of sin as a human choice in a garden. Enoch presents a universe where the boundaries between heavenly and earthly realms are tragically porous, and where corruption can descend quite literally from above. This is a challenging lens for any structured faith community. It raises difficult questions. How much of our world's evil is a human failing, and how much is the fruit of a corrupted spiritual inheritance? The Church, tasked with providing clear moral guidance and hope, has historically emphasized human responsibility and the clarity of the canonical revelation. Enoch's apocalyptic, dualistic vision, while influential in the first century, could be seen as muddying those waters, fostering a speculative or fatalistic mindset. Yet therein lies its prophetic power for us. Today, when we look at our own forbidden knowledge, the technologies and systems we create without wisdom, we see Enoch's pattern replaying. Consider artificial intelligence, a towering, almost giant-like power born from celestial realms of code and data. Created with potential for good, its deployment without ethical guardrails, for profit, surveillance or warfare, mirrors the Watcher's disastrous gift. It becomes a Nephilim in the land, a force that can ravage societal fabric. Or consider the secrets of genetic manipulation, the cosmetics of our age that promise to reshape life itself. The parallel isn't allegorical fantasy, it's a moral echo. Enoch asks, what happens when beings grasp for the prerogatives of God, unleashing power they cannot sanctify? The Church may avoid teaching Enoch because its message is uncomfortably amplificatory. It turns up the volume on a theme the canon states in a quieter key, that our rebellion is not petty, but cosmic in its implications. It warns that advances without holiness are not progress, but a prelude to judgment. So, what do we do with this diagnosis? We let it perform its intended function, to sober and redirect. Enoch's terrifying visions of falling stars and chained angels are not meant to make us chart the collapse of galaxies, but to recognize the collapse of integrity in our own spheres. Its call is to righteousness, to a deliberate, countercultural walking with God, as its namesake did, Genesis 5:24. In a world drunk on its own knowledge, the righteous are those who choose reverence over reach, stewardship over domination, and humility over the pride that toppled angels. The text, in its final movements, shifts from catastrophe to a promise of a new creation for the faithful, a world where truth and peace are permanently established. Therefore, our preparation for any end times is not found in decoding symbols, but in cultivating a character that can withstand the presence of God. It is about becoming people so aligned with His will that, whether in trial, upheaval, or renewal, we are found standing in the company of the righteous. The Book of Enoch, therefore, is less a key to unlock prophecy and more a mirror to reveal presumption. It asks one enduring question. If the guardians of heaven's light could choose darkness, what vigilant humility is required of us today? The answer doesn't lie in a sealed scroll, but in the open book of our daily choices. Let us choose the walk that leads not to a fall, but to His presence. Living in the shadow of giants, applying Enoch's warning today. So how do we walk with God in a world that, like Enoch's, seems full of giants, not of flesh and bone, but of towering systems, ideologies, and technologies? The text shows us the answer lies not in direct confrontation, but in quiet, intentional faithfulness. Enoch did not fight the Nephilim. He walked with God. Genesis 5:24. Amid cosmic chaos, his life was a silent testimony that a path existed outside the corruption. This is the first application. Our personal holiness is our most potent act of resistance. In a culture that normalizes the blending of sacred with profane, whether in ethics, pleasure, or power, the simple, persistent decision to walk with God is revolutionary. Second, Enoch calls us to a sacred skepticism toward secret knowledge. The watchers promised enlightenment, but delivered bondage. Our age is obsessed with its own profane mysteries, algorithms that shape reality, narratives that rewrite truth, promises of transcendence through science or consumption. The book warns, any knowledge that pulls us from humble dependence on God, that inflates our autonomy to the point of violating divine boundaries, carries the seed of its own destruction. This isn't about rejecting learning, but about anchoring it in the fear of the Lord, which is the beginning of wisdom. Proverbs 9:10. Finally, Enoch's vision of final judgment isn't meant to fuel paralyzing fear, but to strengthen active hope. The certainty that God will judge all injustice, celestial and earthly, frees the believer from despair or vengeance. We can work for justice, defend the oppressed, and care for creation, not because we believe we can fix everything, but because we know the one who sees all will make all things right. Our eschatological hope is the fuel for our present compassion. The Church's silence and the voice of discernment. Why then does the Church avoid this? Beyond historical and theological reasons, there's a pastoral one. Enoch requires spiritual maturity. Without the firm foundation of the canon, its vivid symbolism can lead to dangerous speculation, a fascination with the occult, or a dualism that minimizes grace. The Church, like a cautious mother, often feeds her children the solid food of the canonical scriptures first, Hebrews 5:12-14. But for the mature believer grounded in truth, Enoch serves as a peripheral prophet. He whispers from the shadows, reminding us that the battle is older and deeper than we knew, and that godliness is our armor. He amplifies the warning echo already present in Romans 1:21-25, exchanging the glory of the immortal God for images of the creature leads to a depraved mind and distorted relationships. Conclusion: the question Enoch leaves us with. Therefore we do not close the book with a new prophecy, but with a lasting question before the giants of our age. In what knowledge are we trusting, and what kind of giant is it creating? Are we using the power we wield, intellectual, technological, or social, to build as children of God, or to devastate as descendants of the Watchers? The answer is not found in analyzing the ancient text, but in examining the modern heart. Enoch was taken. The giants were destroyed. The flood came and went. The only thing that remains, yesterday, today, and forever, is the invitation to walk with God. Everything else, all chaos, all rebellion, all judgment, is merely the backdrop against which that walk is chosen or refused. May we have ears to hear the whisper across the centuries, and courage to choose the narrow path that cuts through the landscape of giants, toward the presence of the one who, after all, holds the stars and our destiny in his hands. Beyond the fringe, the enduring legacy of a forgotten text. And so we stand, having peered into the cosmic scope of Enoch's vision. We have seen the Watchers fall, the giants rise, and the unyielding justice of God sweep across a corrupted creation. We have felt its unsettling resonance with our own time. Where does this leave us? Not with a secret codex for the apocalypse, but with a clarified mission for the present, because Enoch does more than diagnose. It reorients. It pulls our gaze upward, recalibrating our understanding of power, time, and purpose. 1. The true seat of power. The subversive claim of the text is that the most fearsome giants, the empires, the systems, the leviathans of humanity, are, in the end, contingent and doomed. They are the illegitimate offspring of a failed rebellion. True, enduring power resides not in the hybrid force of the Nephilim, nor in the secret crafts of the Watchers, but in the quiet, unbroken communion exemplified by Enoch himself. In a world that venerates disruptive innovation and brute strength, Enoch venerates surrendered obedience. Our cultural moment asks, "What can you build?" Enoch asks, "To whom?" The answer to that question determines the eternal weight of everything we do. 2. The purpose of prophecy, to shape a people, not just predict events. The apocalyptic visions, the weeks of history, the shaking heavens, were never intended as a newspaper for the future. They were tools of identity formation for a people under pressure. For the Jewish communities grappling with Hellenistic assimilation and Roman oppression, these visions declared, "Your suffering is seen. This chaos is not ultimate. You are part of a story so vast it encompasses angels and stars, and it ends in the victory of the Holy One." For us, the application is profound. We are not called to be eschatological detectives, but to be an eschatological community, a people whose hope in God's ultimate victory shapes our ethics, our resilience, and our compassion today. Our solidarity, our justice, our mercy are the lived-out proof of the coming kingdom we claim to await. 3. The narrow path of engagement between fear and fascination. This is the razor's edge Enoch requires us to walk. On one side lies fearful withdrawal, the temptation to see all human advancement as inherently corrupt, to retreat from culture and wait for the end. On the other side lies unholy fascination, a captivation with the mystical, the speculative, and the hidden that displaces the plain, weighty matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. Matthew 23:23. Enoch himself